Hello everybody, this is Off the Record with Lazore Photography and I'm your host, Brian Lazore. Before I introduce our guest, just give a little background on the premises of what the show is about. Basically, I want to interview people in our community who's been actors, comedians, musicians, people I've been meeting on my journeys as a photographer. And eventually I want to interview small businesses, people who volunteer in the community, just anybody who's doing good in the community, share their stories, talk about their success, but also get to know who they are. So on that note, I want to introduce my first guest, the amazing Patrick Michael Moccaldi.
Hey, Brian.
And we'll give it up for him.
What is it, like 3 people? Like 3 people. Woo, yeah, man, all right. Who?
Today we're going to be talking about some of Patrick's success in acting, radio, things like that. But first we want to get to know him, where he came from, his upbringing, and what really boosted his career. You grew up in Utica, East Side, correct?
Yes. I was born March 24th, 1966 in Adrian Terrace, which is a little housing development in Utica, right on Culver Ave.
By the Armory, correct?
Right next to the Armory.
And you grew up with a mother, father in your household?
Actually, yeah. My dad left early, and so my mom raised all 6 of us, 3 sisters and 3 brothers.
Okay.
You know, well, me and 2 brothers, you know. But
pretty close family?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You know, we were, real close family, you know, right from the get-go.
I remember, through our conversations, full disclosure, I do know Patrick. His story to me is very motivational, and from where he, came from, where he ended up. Now, I remember you saying growing up you were bullied a little bit.
Yeah, in elementary school, you know what I mean. Kind of, I was, just picked on, kind of that chubby kid, and so people kind of like took notice to that, and I wasn't big on kind of standing up for myself, the way I should have,
So is that what really lit the fire for the comedian in you, the voice in you?
Yeah.
Is finding your path of ways to combat that bullying, correct? Am I correct in saying that?
That's exactly right, yeah. I just, being picked on, I figured, if I put on some weight that, I wouldn't be, picked on so much, you know what I mean? And that I would, be able to, stand up for myself and all that.
I remember you saying you became like sort of the class clown.
Yeah.
Trying to incorporate voices too that you heard on the radio.
Yeah, well, yeah. When I was a little kid, my mom bought me a little Radio Shack AM radio, and they came in different colors, and it was I would take that all over the neighborhood, and I used to listen to the radio, and back then it was just AM, so we had WTLB and we had WRUN. And so anytime I would hear one of the disc jockeys, the on-air personalities, I would just mimic them, And I started doing that, at a really, really young age.
So where would you mimic their voices? In the mirror, or as you're riding around on your bike, or?
Well, no. We had an old station wagon my dad had, and I would sit in the back seat with everybody, and we'd be driving down the road, and I would see a billboard. And I would just start, reading off the billboard, whatever was on the billboard.
And then, did you take this voice into your class and to be the comedic?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My early influences were, cartoon voices like Mel Blanc. He was a big influence early days. He was a huge cartoon guy. Right. He did Bugs Bunny, Porky Pig. all those.
So you would do these voices in
Yeah.
school?
Yeah, I would do them. I would do them right in class.
So you combated people bullying you by trying to get them to like you for your humor.
That's exactly right.
So
yeah.
instead of resorting to violence or anything like that, you try to win them over with your personality.
Yeah. I just, I figure if I would get these people to, stop picking on me if I just made them laugh.
Can you do any of those voices now?
Oh my goodness! Not on the spot, man. That was a very long time ago. So but that is where I started getting into it. And then later on, I decided I wanted to be on radio, and so I called up a local radio station, and I asked the guy.
How old were you then when you called the radio station?
I was probably, I think I was 14 years old. Yeah, 14. And I called him up, and because I would do it with friends and family, and they were like, "Listen, man, you got a good voice. You got a voice for radio. Why don't you call up and see about getting into it?" And I told everybody I wanted to get in the radio right at the get go, and they were like, "Well, why don't you see what you can do?" So I did call the local colleges because there was college radio. MVCC had a radio station. Utica College had a radio station, and I called them up, and you got to go and have you got to go to college for it.
So you were calling these radio stations at 14 years old, and they were telling you call in on the shows to speak and such like that.
Absolutely.
Is that what I'm understanding?
I would call up on the radio, and during one of the morning shows, and they would. I would either act like somebody else or something, try to describe my voice or something. Hey, this is Joe calling. Yeah, I was just wondering if you can, whatever, And they would, hey man, can we put you on the radio? And then I told them, I said, listen, I'd like to get in the radio. How can I do it? And the first guy that helped me out was Peter Hirsch from WOUR.
How old were you then?
Oh man, I was probably about 15 by then.
So within a year, you made yourself known to these radios as a young teenager.
Yeah. And they, they're like, yeah, just make a tape and send it over. They gave me the address. Back then, we didn't have any internet or any of that. So they were like, make a tape. So I had a little cassette recorder. And I'd hit the recorder and, start speaking into it, and, whatever. I would just pick a radio station out of the blue and just start, talking about the radio station. I would just mimic those guys.
Now, were these people you were actually looking up to?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And people you were starting to idolize as a teenager growing up?
Yeah.
So far what I'm understanding is you were bullied growing up.
Yeah.
And you combated that being bullied through being comedic, through mimicking these voices and copying voices on there. Was that a good feeling, knowing that people were starting to like you because you came out of your bubble with your personality?
Yeah, absolutely.
And did you find that incorporate its way into reaching out to these radio stations to give you more confidence?
Well, I think I had the confidence already. It was just that it helped me, kind of cope with, being picked on and all that. It just, I was like, okay, you know what? I'll do this, or I'll be funny or something.
So what were you doing before the big move to California?
I was, I worked a couple of jobs. I worked in Rome at a rock club called Coleman's, where I used to DJ. I would book the bands and DJ out there. It was right on Erie Boulevard. And then I worked at Big Apple Music in New Hartford.
So you're out in the public working with your voice as a DJ and whatnot like that?
Yeah.
So the radio stuff came after the California
Well,
move?
I always loved radio. I wanted to be in radio. But, you know what I mean? There was a big, long timeline between, all that, to me actually being on the radio.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So how old were you when you packed your bags and decided to move to California?
87. Yeah. my brother Marty moved to California back in 1977, so he was already out there, and you know, he's always been bugging me to come out. You know, why don't you come out to California? Come, you know what I mean? I just like, I don't know anybody, and I know you, this and that, you know.
What prompted the move to California? Was it because your brother was out there? You wanted to go visit him, or?
Well, yeah, I always wanted to do that, but there was a local rock band from this area. They were called Belgium, and they all moved out to Hollywood, California. So that was a perfect segue for me to make my way out there, you know.
So how was that move? Was it a good move for you?
That was perfect because they were already out there, and my brother's out there. So, you know, I ended up going out at the end of 1987. And, you know, I lived with my brother Marty in Pasadena, California for about a couple of weeks until I got my own apartment in Burbank, California. Right. And that was on 632 East Olive Ave in Burbank.
Now, that's around where all the production companies
Oh,
were.
yeah. Yep. NBC is right at the bottom of Olive Ave, and so is Warner Brothers and Paramount's down there. So, you know, that was... you know, that was perfect for me.
So what were you doing before you landed your first acting gig? You were going to studios, correct?
Yeah, you know, I was going to different, you know, casting calls, you know, and I started out being an extra. So I was on many, many different TV shows being an extra.
I recall you used to go to the late night shows, you said, as well, yeah?
Yeah.
And you got paid to do that, to be an audience member?
Yeah. NBC would pay people to, I don't know if they still do that or not, but they used to pay people, you know, like $40 a day, where you would, you know, come in and sit, you know, in the bleachers and, you know, hoot and holler. You know, there'd be a guy standing in front of you and he would raise his hands and you would be, whoo! You know what I mean? It was great, you know. And, you know, a lot of college kids, you know, from UCLA would come down and because, you know, and it was great. You know?
What wasn't the one you mentioned before in a conversation, Arsenio Hall show?
Yeah.
Where you got backstage access with some of the musicians and acts?
Yeah. I met Arsenio Hall and, you know, being on the show, regularly out, you know what I mean? As a matter of fact, a lot of those shows, you'll see me in the audience because the cameras were constantly showing the, you know, the audience,
right.
You know, and, you know, you'll see me in a lot of those audience shots, you know, when they had, oh my God, man, they had all kinds of basketball players. Arsenio had tons of people. I met so many people on that show.
I grew up listening to hip hop myself, and I remember you said something about Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
You got to hang out backstage with him.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Well, Arsenio was such a cool guy. He was like, you know, the people, you know, the regulars that would come in, and they called us atmosphere, you know, and they would, he would be like, yeah, you know, you want to meet, you know, a lot of the guests
they would offer for you to meet these
sure.
famous people that came in there?
You know, because, you know, when they're taping, you know, they're only taping like 20 to 23 minutes for a half-hour show.
Right.
You know, the rest of the time is for commercial. You know.
Now, is that what made you want to get into acting? Is that experience in the audience?
Absolutely, yeah.
So what was your first acting gig besides being in the audience?
I went from being in the audience to being an extra, you know.
What was your first gig as an extra?
Oh, my God. My first gig as an extra, my God, let's see. I was on the Finelli Boys, and that was on NBC.
How many episodes did that run for?
It was just the one. Yeah, I played a hockey fan in the audience, and where I'm sitting next to one of the stars, and the other guy that is in the show, Joe Patalamano. He is he's a B actor. You might remember him in a movie called The Fugitive. He was
that movie.
Yeah, with Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
And he was one of the investigators, he was on Tommy Lee Jones's team.
Investigation team?
Yeah. And Joe's a real nice guy. Super cool.
So you got to hang out with these actors, not even you were just an extra, but you still got to hang out with them.
Yeah, I was persistent. You know, when you're part of that, you know, the acting bug, so to speak, you know, you want more of it. You know what I mean? So it was great.
Did it get to your head after you landed that extra role?
Sure, yeah. It does.
Yeah.
You know, like,
that's quite the accomplishment.
You know, you're like, I'm never coming back to Utica, and I'm not, you know what I mean, man? And, you know, I'm thinking, all right, you know, someday I'm going to be on, you know, Johnny Carson, or I'm going to be on, you know, David Letterman.
So that acting gig led you to another one, correct? Didn't you say you shot a pilot for another show or something?
Yeah, Knights of the Kitchen Table, that was on Paramount. And Danny Aiello, hope I pronounced his name.
Were you an extra on that too?
Yeah, I was. It was actually a bit part, and it was just a pilot, and I played a guy named Ronnie, and it was really cool. You know?
Did you find it come natural to you, even though you're an extra? Extras play an important role in movies, because without extras, you don't really set the tone in the scene. Yeah. But did it come natural to you?
Absolutely, because you know I kind of always considered myself a character,
right.
You know, and yeah, everybody used to say that. Oh, Pat, you're a character. You know what I mean? I guess okay, I'm a character.
Now, do you attribute that to you as you were younger to bring out the comedian and the voice persona of you?
Oh, sure. You know, when you're living in California, especially Hollywood, North Hollywood, you know. You want to be, everybody in California wants to be somebody. You know, I don't care who you are. You want to be somebody. So, you know, when you're there, you know, you meet a lot of people. Right. I mean, constantly. I would see on the street constantly guys like Tom Arnold, Roseanne Barr, John Goodman, all from that. I was at a place called Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, and I met Tony Danza from, he was on a TV show back then called Who's the Boss?
I remember that show.
Yeah.
I imagine that acting...
And he was a real nice guy. Tony is like, this guy could be your neighbor.
I imagine like the access to these actors back then were probably easier than it is today.
Oh, I would, you know, I mean, it's been you know quite a while since I've been out there.
So your next project is a movie that you're in, 1991 Doc Hollywood with Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Explain how you landed that role.
Well, I was already hooked up with a casting agency called Central Casting, and ironically, they're in Burbank, you know, and so on a daily basis. I would go down there and see if they had anything for me. A lot of regulars that would come in, and you know, when you go into a casting agency, you know, all the agents, you know, you come in and you know, you just basically wave to all the agents, you know, and if they have something for you, they'll say, hey, you know, I got something for you. You know, can you be in Tarzana tomorrow morning? Can you be in Long Beach? You know, the next day, whatever, you know.
How long did you bug them before you landed the,
about 6 months, for Doc Hollywood? Yeah, about 6 months. I came in and, you know, and one of the agents there, her name was Peggy Curtin, and she worked with some big people. She got some huge roles for a lot of people.
Did you rehearse for the part?
Not really, because there wasn't any speaking on it, you know, even though I bugged them, you know, I said, listen, you know what I mean? Is there any script for this? And they were like, you know, there's not any script for it.
Right.
I said, but you know what? There could be, and we won't know that till actually shooting.
Right.
You know, but how it happened was I went in the Central Casting, and then as soon as I got home, you know, back then we didn't have cell phones, so as soon as I got home, I hit my answering machine. Hi, this is Peggy Curtin from Central Casting. Can you call me as soon as you get this? You know.
How'd that make you feel at that time?
You know, okay, what is it? Because you know, a lot of times, you know, they would call and it was just a, you know, atmosphere part. You know, where you're walking across the street during filming. You know, for something, and And I called her up, and she goes, I got something for you. And she goes, I got a bit part for you. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, you're going to be Wendell Barnes in a movie called Doc Hollywood with Michael J. Fox. And I was like, wow, really?
Do you know who Michael J. Fox was at this time?
I remember him from Family Ties. At that point, he even though he was he did Back to the Future, I still only remembered him from Family Ties.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be a good feeling though. Getting that call, Michael J. Fox, and you knew who he was.
Yeah.
So.
It was. I didn't at that point. I didn't even know what a bit part was. I had no idea. But she goes, come tomorrow to Warner Brothers. Lot. And I have everything. I have my pass. I have the the whole script for Doc Hollywood. Everybody's part. And even though I didn't have any speaking part, but they did give it to me. But they told me to come the next day to Warner Brothers, Lot A, and I went in. It was pretty professional, man. And I go into this this one building, and at this long table are all these people, and everybody, I would say 75% of the cast was there. Michael J. Fox, Bridget Fonda, Woody Harrelson, Michael Caton Jones, who was the director for Doc Hollywood, Australian guy, really, really nice guy. And he just got done directing a movie called Memphis Belle with Matthew Modine, Eric Stone. Great.
So he was an up-and-coming, big time director too?
A big, and, he's like, oh, how are you, Patrick? And, instantly I started calling Wendell.
So even off camera, they were calling you Wendell Barnes?
Not one person called me Patrick, not one. Right. They all, and I remember the first time Michael J. Fox walked up to me and said, hey, Wendell, and I hear his voice, because, you see him on TV, you see him in movies, and then he's calling your name, and I'm like, wow, man, this is so cool. And of course, I'm taller than him, and he puts his hand out, just shake his hand. But very cool guy, right. Hey, Wendell, how you doing, man? He goes, welcome aboard, he goes. And I was like, thanks, you know what I mean? And everybody was coming up and, introducing themselves.
How long was filming, how long were you there on set?
I was on set for 6 days.
6 days,
yeah.
Okay.
Doc Hollywood took 6 months to film. They did 2 months in, I believe, South Florida. And then the other 4 months was in California.
For those that might not know, Wendell Barnes, his role from me watching the movie myself, wasn't, like you said, you didn't have any lines, but it played a pivotal role in that movie with the relationship between Michael J. Fox's character and the female character he was trying to romance in the movie, correct?
Correct, yeah. In the movie, the way they had it set up was, in the script anyways, Bridget Fonda, who in the movie, her name is Nancy Lee, I'm Wendell Barnes, and I have a huge crush on Nancy Lee. And here's Michael J. Fox that comes in, and he's a plastic surgeon. So he ends up being in Grady, South Carolina, which there is no place called Grady, South Carolina.
Right.
But in the movie, I had to intimidate him because he's trying to take my girl, which is Nancy Lee, who is Bridget Fonda. So it was, it was quick like that. And but I mean, working with everybody on that was like, man, just so cool. Just when you do something like that on a blockbuster movie like that, just being on the set is cool. But when I'm telling you, man, I have nervous.
You were nervous the whole time?
Oh man, I got these little,
I would be too. You're hanging out with big Hollywood stars.
When I get nervous, I get these little, I don't know what you call them, man, but little things, you know what I mean, where, either blink your eyes or make a noise or something. And, it was, man, they had to retake it because I was doing that during my part,
right.
And, so it was like, and it's so cool, man, when you do, when you're on that, they spare no expense, I had my own dressing room.
That was a small role. They treated you
oh, no, man.
just as good as anybody else on set.
Absolutely.
That's good.
It was not an extra part. This was a build-up from being an extra into a bit part.
Right.
And then you normally you bounce from a bit part into an actor,
Right.
So I was really anticipating doing that.
So 6 days of filming, and then
We filmed it in Plaza Rita Canyon.
back home in California.
Yeah.
So what was it like waiting between the time you returned home from filming your part to when the movie was released? Were you like anxious and
Oh, yeah.
you couldn't wait to see what they did?
I just came home to
So
visit.
you came home to New York?
Yeah,
Back in New York?
I came home to Utica because my mom was sick.
Okay.
Okay, and she had an issue, a medical issue, and
So you came to visit, and
Yeah.
you guys are anticipating the release of your movie. Was your mom
Yeah.
happy for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my mom was really proud.
So did it come out while you were here in New York State?
Oh yeah,
Back in Utica?
absolutely. Yeah, the manager for the Sanger Town Square movie theater there called me up on the phone and said, "Hey, we're going to be putting on Doc Hollywood. Would you like to come and be our guest?" And they sent a limousine and everything. It was really cool, man. Yeah. And I had all my friends come out,
Was it like a red carpet setup too?
No, it wasn't anything like that.
Something
but-
casual?
yeah, but it was really cool. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget sitting in the audience and I walked in and it's easy to get your head inflated with stuff like that, because you walk in and everybody realizes, because the Observer-Dispatch did a big half-page article on me about a week before the movie came out.
Right.
And I'll give you a copy of that too, by the way. I'll show you that. But so a lot of people recognized me then. So when I came to the theater, a lot of people, like, hey, you know what I mean? I had young kids coming up to me asking me to sign an autograph and stuff.
Was that a good feeling?
Man, I'm telling you, I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm a nobody,
Well, you weren't a nobody.
But
You were somebody who you grew up being bullied, and you didn't let that teeter you from goals and your mission in life.
Absolutely.
So
no. Yeah.
you were somebody.
Yeah,
That's quite the accomplishment.
I broke out of that. I had a lot of help. I mean, I have, even to this day, I have a lot of people that are in my corner. People I see daily, and I love them. You know what I mean? They know who they are, and I'm telling you, I go the extra mile for them.
Take a pause here. All right, this is Lazore Photography, off the record with Lazore Photography. We took a quick break here, and we're picking up the interview where we left off. We're at the part of Patrick's story where he just returned home to New York. His mother was ill, correct?
Yeah, 1991.
And he had his movie release here. So now we're going to talk about, you gave up your acting career because your mother was sick.
That's correct, yeah.
Were you happy about your decision?
Yeah. She needed, I became her caregiver, and, she needed that help, The rest of the family was very helpful, but, she needed a lot of help, and I was there for her.
Well,
and I loved it. It was, Mom, because she became my best friend.
Well, that's good. Yeah. That's quite the motivational piece, right?
Yeah, I drove her crazy when I was young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was a nutty kid. Just
But you did accomplish quite a lot by this time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Your story wasn't over there, though. You made you continued your story with your career here in the local area of Utica.
Absolutely.
So what was your next move?
That's when I approached Victor Lyle at 94 KROCK to, he was like, man, you got to get on the radio, you know what I mean? Now that, you did this Doc Hollywood thing, and so, you know what I mean? And So, because they loved it too. So they wanted, they were really eager to,
So they wanted to capitalize when you were still hot.
I
pretty
think
much.
so. Yeah, I don't think they really came out and said
It was
that.
like this local guy. He was on a big hit movie.
Yeah.
Even though it was a small role, he got a lot of attention in the media locally. Let's capitalize on this and see if we could snag him up.
Yeah. They brought me in, and so I ended up doing the overnights with 94 KROCK.
Was that 94.9, the same station that's here now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 90 WKLL, and I did that from 91 to 94, 1994, and that was pretty good. At that same time, I started a rock group called the Blob Mob, and I was a singer. I was a lead singer. And,
so on the radio, you were doing overnights. Were you? Did you get a lot of speaking in, or was it just playing music?
Yeah, it was, back then, the Keeler in the Morning show was big. So it was Keeler in the Morning, solid rock all day at 94 KROCK, WK.
Was that back when he was doing all the crazy stuff on the air, blowing up microwaves and stuff?
Yeah, it was nuts. We had a lot of fun, man. We had, let's see, Victor Lyle, Jeff Storm was part of the station back then. Steve Reynolds, Gerbil, who did the Sound and the Fury on Saturday nights at 94 KROCK. It was great, We had a lot of fun, man. And it was all before the internet, So, radio was huge. It was fun. It was great,
How did that incorporate with your music being?
Well,
did they conflict with each other or no?
Oh no, they worked hand in hand, because I was working at Big Apple Music in New Hartford, and so I was all part of that music scene and all.
So how did the band name come about?
A good friend of mine came up with this fictional character. He was from a comic strip called The Blob. And so he was like, man, you got to capitalize on this, you know what I mean? And there's a cartoon.
You're a big guy.
Yeah. Right? And he wanted, he came up with the idea, this guy Bob Aquaviva, and he came up with the idea about the Blob. And so we got together and called it the Blob Mob. And we...
Now, what were you the singer?
Yeah, I was a singer. I approached another buddy of mine, Jimmy Gagella. He was a well-known drummer in the area, and I approached him I said, hey man, let's start a band. And I said, Bob Aquaviva. He's like he's going to put his stamp
Pretty
on
much
it.
all came together,
and
everybody was on board.
Everybody was
on
board.
This.
Yeah, we did. We ended up recording 3 CDs with another good friend of mine, Tony Torres. He produced all of it, helped write a lot of it, and he recorded it right in his studio. And he's a local musician as well.
How long was your band around for?
Between 91 and 94. We...
was it good times?
Yeah, we did we did 2 CDs and a couple of cassettes. And you can hear our music today. It's on the internet, reverbnation.com. You can hear a lot of our stuff.
Did you guys get on the local radio with some of your stuff?
Well, yeah, they had, there was a local radio show on 94 KROCK. This other disc jockey, Jamie Hassel, he used to do the local show. And he would, bring us in, and we would talk about the music and all that, and a bunch of other bands. You know what I mean? It was, being in a rock band back in that time was cool. We had a lot of really good bands that came through, man. The Bomb was hot. Gridley Page was hot. The Moyer Brothers. I mean, those. It was huge.
Now, were you partying a lot yourself during those days?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's where my life, my life basically took a big nosedive, because I got into partying, I got into drinking, and it became a dark part. Because
you contribute that to some of your success just getting to your head
absolutely.
at the time?
Yeah.
So what pulled you out of that? Was it?
A good friend of mine owned a body shop, an auto body shop in Yorkville called Commercial Collision that I've known for many, many years ago. And I was in the hospital in 2008. We're jumping, a long time because after between 94 and 97, my weight started getting up.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was gaining a lot of weight. I went from 350 to 450 to 550, 650.
So was that because of your partying or because there was medical stuff going on too?
No, it was, partying and,
just not giving a hoot about nothing. And
thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what it was, And so in 1997, I ended up being disabled because I just, my weight got out of hand, and it became a really dark part of my life.
So what was the wake-up call? What was the breaking point? You said, okay, I got to change my lifestyle. I got to try to get healthier.
Yeah. What happened was I moved to Clinton, New York, and I got into, at an apartment out there, and at that point, I was probably around 750 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I was, it was just a bad part. And in 2008, I had congestive heart failure. And the fire department, the local Clinton fire department showed up. They didn't know what to do.
Right.
They seen there was a guy that size. You know what I mean? At that time, I was bedbound. Where I just, you lose hope.
So was that your waking point to, I got to make change in my life?
After, in 2008, I was living in Clinton and I had congestive heart failure, and they brought me to the hospital. That's when I realized that I was 800 pounds.
Right.
And, when you see that number, you're just like, you feel that this is it, man. It's over. So I ended up, I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks. During that time, a good friend of mine who I've known for many years ago, he owned an auto body shop in Yorkville.
Right.
His name was Walt Warham. And he ended up being a pastor. With me being away for so long, he ended up being a pastor of a Christian church in Sequoia called Norwich Corners Christian Church. And he came to visit me at the hospital. And he walked in. I haven't seen him many, many years, and I was like, wow. And I just, I broke down and cried. You know what I mean? Because at that point, I was at the worst part of my life. And so he came in and he let me know that he was a pastor of a church now. And I was like, wow, I was like amazed, But at that, right there, he goes, I would like to pray with you. And I was like, okay, And he...
So you're open to...
Yeah.
Your friend who came in who was religious, you weren't.
Yeah.
But with your scare with the medical stuff, it made you to be open to that?
I was like, this is it.
Right.
This is my last call.
Right.
This is it, And so I gave my life to Christ,
So that was your turning point in your health to try to better yourself medically?
That was it. And, that night... Wow, it was after he left, him and I prayed right there at my hospital bed, and that night it was crazy. I had these really incredible dreams,
Sometimes they say that we have to hit rock bottom.
That's exactly
before
right.
we realize
You're right,
we
Brian.
change, and
Right.
rock bottom could be different for anybody.
Yeah, and
but that's still quite the story. I mean, you overcame something. Sadly, you had to hit rock bottom in your own way.
Yeah.
So you found your new path in God and going to church.
Amen.
And bettering yourself with health and whatnot.
Yeah, I gave my life to Christ, and with Christianity, Catholicism is religion. Just so I don't know if you knew this or not, but Catholic is religion. Christianity is a relationship with Christ.
Right.
Okay.
So that set you on the path of healing and bettering your life.
That's exactly right.
So
yeah, I ended up 3 weeks later. I ended up out of the hospital. Between 2008 and 2010, there was this pivotal point where I was just transitioning, but I realized that I needed something to get my weight off me, or I'm not going to be long for this world.
Right.
So I opted in on gastric bypass surgery. And at that time, being 800 pounds, it was basically unheard of.
Now, are you comfortable with me leaving that part in the interview? Or?
Absolutely,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And because it's part of my life,
Okay.
But I went to see a doctor in the area. His name was Dr. Graver. And he had a physician that was a surgeon that worked with him called Dr. Fitzer. He was from West Virginia. And he opted in to do my surgery. And he let me know right off the bat that, listen, you're the big, at that time, you're going to be the largest man that we've ever conducted gastric bypass surgery
right.
at 800 pounds. So, they brought me into the clinic, and, with gastric bypass surgery, I've had a lot of people approach me on, hey, do you think I should have gastric bypass surgery, all this, Gastric bypass surgery for me, I had to have. There was just no doubt about it. It was like either, if I didn't get it, I was going to die.
Right.
So, but for people that just want to lose a few pounds, I don't recommend gastric bypass surgery too, because it changes your life. I have, I've had my gastric bypass surgery in 2011, and to this day, I still have small complications from it.
Do you regret having it, or
No,
are you glad you did it?
Wait, absolutely not. Okay. No, I had to have it.
So between you finding your path with God and this gastric bypass surgery, it improved your quality of life.
Absolutely. In 2011, I got gastric bypass surgery. My weight instantly started coming off me.
How'd you feel?
It was great, But the problem was when you're that big, 800 pounds, and you start to lose a lot of weight, you have a lot of excess skin.
Right.
So in 2013, I had to have skin reduction surgery,
right.
which was the most painful surgery I've ever had in my life. I mean, it was incredible. It was 10 times the pain of gastric bypass surgery.
Right.
But I had it in 2013. And to this day, I lost 585 pounds.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, And today I'm 285 today. But I bounced back a little bit. I think I got up to like 320 pounds. But today I'm 285.
So you gave up the party life on the path with God.
Oh, yeah.
You started concentrating on your medical health. What have you been doing since, as far as like career-wise?
Well, I love in summertime. I go to the classic car shows, Dave's Diner, and
you were doing voiceovers too for places like McGill's. You did commercials for.
I help.
Let's hear your McGill's commercial voice.
Every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, there's a party at Mr. McGill's Eating and Drinking Establishment, Route 5, Skyline.
I remember hearing that voice all the time.
A lot of people say, "Oh, you got to do it, Pat. Do it." So man. So I go to all the car shows in the area. I got a '97 Lincoln Town Car. I drive to the car shows and. I hang out with a bunch of really cool people.
You still like doing the voiceovers?
Yeah. I still, a lot of times people, will call me up. Hey, listen, can you come in and do a vocal sketch for me or something? Some sort of a voiceover or something.
Well, this is definitely quite the story, and I hope with this interview, people watch it and it can connect with people.
Yeah.
I chose Pat for my first interview because I know him. I know a little bit of his background. And this is new territory for Lazore Photography, doing a interview show. But I want people's stories, you know. I don't want to just hear about their success. What got them there? What helped motivate him in his background, his upbringing, and then his downfall, and then his surviving that downfall could be a really great motivation for people. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Hearing your story?
Yeah. I want to thank you again, Brian, for having me here, man. I mean, this is the first time I've done one of these.
Well, I thank you for doing the interview with Off the Record with Lazore Photography.
And hey, man, happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas to you, man.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas to you. But before we go,
Yeah.
if you had to sum up your life in just a couple of words, what words would you choose?
Oh my goodness.
What
I would
words
say
would you choose?
today, probably thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
I would probably have to say, you know, for where I am today, you know.
But you accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
Are you proud of your
Oh
accomplishments?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I don't.
Do you have any regrets?
No. I mean, I lost my mom 2 years ago. She was my best friend, and she went to church with me every Sunday morning faithfully. And
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, you know, and so, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I do the audio. I'm the media director at my church, and I love it. You know what I mean? Everybody that.
Any advice for people you want to give? You can look directly at the camera if you want to
Sure.
give anybody,
Yeah.
you know, the general audience, whoever
You know,
watches this, advice real quick.
Just, you know, if you're, you know, if you're in a dark part of your life right now, there's always something for you, you know. For me, my hope was Christ. That was my hope. And it may not be for you, but for everything that I've been through, Christ was the answer for me. So that's,
And the answer could vary for people differently.
yeah, I'm sorry.
I said the answer to better in their life
Yeah.
could be, you know, whatever it is that brings them that shining light, correct?
That's exactly why I use the word hope.
Right.
You know, you know,
like that.
Christ may not be, you know what I mean, but for you know, somebody, you know, hope, you know, and my hope was Christ, you know what I mean?
I like
but it's like, man, that may not be for you, but there is a hope for you, and you need to find it, you know.
I like that. That's pretty touching, and I hope it resonates with some people who listens to Patrick's story, and not just because he was an actor in a blockbuster hit, but just because it's a good story to me. I mean, your story is really amazing, and it's intriguing, and you know, some people I know, you know, that we know mutually joke around that about how you talk about your story and stuff like that. But I mean, to me, it's inspirational. It's not.
I appreciate that.
You know,
Brian. Thanks, man.
it's
Yeah,
really a good
you know.
story, and
I'm no different than anybody, but you know, with me, I did a lot of really, really cool things in life. I did a lot of really bad things in life, you know. But you know, I'm still here today. You know, from being this crazy kid that was picked on in elementary school, you know, channeling all of that into being a, you know,
success, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you accomplished your goals. You didn't let anything hold you back.
No, you know, and you can't take no for an answer. It's not an option.
Right.
You know, you just got to keep going. But you know, I've had a lot of great people behind me, and they know who they are. I don't even need to mention them. They know who they are. You know, they check on me all the time, and I love them. I love them with all my heart.
Well, I'm happy for you, Pat.
Thanks, brother.
All right, so we'll wrap this up. This is episode 1 of Off the Record with Lazore Photography, and
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus and the Snowman. I'm your host, Brian Lazore. This is episode 1. Hopefully, we'll be releasing it soon. And again, thank you to Patrick Michael Moccaldi And be sure to check out Doc Hollywood and
Reverb Nation.
Reverb Nation for Blob Mob, and check out some of his music.
And come to church.
And if you want to go to church, if that's your,
Christian Church right in Sequoia, right on Roberts Road in Sequoia.
if church is for you,
stop.
stop and visit and say hi to Patrick. And I was going to say one more thing, but I can't remember. Oh, we might have Patrick back as a guest co-host at some point in the future. We'll see how the show goes.
Thanks, Brian.
And we will be looking for sponsored, paid advertisers. We'll see how the show goes.
Yeah.
This is something new for the Lazore Photography. It's something I wanted to do. And
the audience? Is the audience here, Brian? Oh, there they are.
Hey.
Thank you, guys. Woo! Love you, man.